So the 5 things that's for every entrepreneur. Okay, so I'd say is just start. Just start. Like if your idea is existing in your head and you're not doing anything about it, you're not helping anyone at all, especially not helping yourself. You're not helping everyone around you could benefit from this. I mean, like DigsConnect, for example, yeah, it's it's great for the students, but like also for the landlords, it's added so much value. I mean, we've generated tens of millions of rands for lease value for your normal middle class South Africans who invest in the economy. They've taken on mortgages, they've bought properties. These are good people who deserve to have tenants. And like just because I got the idea out of my head and into the world, like it triggered that value. So just start. Like no more excuses, no more talking about it, just do it. And like there's this thing that Paul Graham always says. Paul Graham's one of these like very famous investors in Silicon Valley. He's brilliant. And he says, you should be embarrassed almost by your first product you put out there because it's so immature and it's like, it should be too soon to launch. But have this too soon to launch mentality where you just do it. Just do it. And, if 100 people hate it, but one person likes it, that's enough. The next person liking it, the third person liking it. So just do it is the first thing I'd say. Okay, second thing I'd say is focus on one value offering. So like do one thing and one thing only. Like you're going to start an idea and you'll be like, oh, we could do this and this and this and add these things on. And before you know it, you're looking at this like monstrosity of awesomeness and you're like, I want to do it all. But like doing it all, like see it as like a 10-year project. What can you do right now? What's the one basic thing? Like when I first launched DigsConnect, it had 2 pages. You could find a Digs and add a Digs, and that was it. It was ugly also. I built it on like Wix or something, and like it was hideous, and you couldn't even like use it half the time. Like it's so the value offering. People would see properties and could add properties, and like boil it down, one like focus on one thing, and then don't do anything else until you've done that one thing really, really well. Third point I'd say is build something that you know about. Like, if especially if it's your first time, like build something you know the ins and outs completely. If you're trying to build a product for a customer and you're not that customer who would use it, you have to try to get into their mindset. So like what makes businesses work, and that's what Jeff Bezos always says, is like absolute customer obsession. Like how can you build something that will add so much value to your users' life? They want to pay you for it. If you want to take someone's hard-earned money, for something you're going to offer them, why would they part with that? Why is your option better than the others? Like we live in a world of capitalism, and I love capitalism, but you've got all these options. Why would someone choose yours? And if you can't convince someone that your product or your service is better, they're not going to buy it, essentially. And the only way to make them know, or the only way to make the product or service better is to deeply understand the user. And so if you are the typical kind of user, you can build the best possible product. I was just looking for a home. I was frustrated with everything out there. I was like, what would be the best case scenario? Like, what is like this incredible app I used to find student accommodation? And we're on a journey to building that. We're still not there. 7 months in, and we're still not there, getting there, because I know this thing, like I'm living this experience as a young person finding a home. The fourth thing I'd say is, we could do a whole podcast just on each one of these points, actually. There's so much more I want to say, but I'm just so close to the time.
Yeah.
Fourth one I'd say is be obsessed. It is difficult. It is really, really difficult building a company. It is the most insanely difficult thing. And even me saying this, and warning you it's difficult, doesn't adequately cover how difficult it's going to be. Like you can go and being like, I'm tough, it's going to be really hard. Like you're going to have like some of the most like soul defeating, crushing days of your life. It is difficult. It is exhausting. You have to love it. You have to love it. You have to be passionate about it. You have to love this thing more than you love yourself. You have to know that you can have sleepless nights. Your health's going to suffer. Your relations are going to suffer. Everything's going to someone's telling me the other day how he's like, I literally went bald because I was so stressed from my company. You have to love it more than you love yourself. Like it's not something that normal people would do. You have to be a bit crazy to pursue this thing because it's going to like take on a life of its own. You have to love it more than yourself. Almost have I'll say like a parent's love, like I'd say like a mother's love for this thing. And the last thing I'd say, and this is a very practical one, is don't spend money unnecessarily before you have to. There's a fallacy that, I have to raise money. Raising money is the last thing you should do. You haven't made it if you've raised money. Like you've made it if your customers pay you for your service. Raising money is when you've validated your idea works and you're going to grow that. And spend necessarily. Again, like you don't have to build, like if you want to build, for example, like you say, like a DigsConnect, the idea is, I want to build a platform that can house 1 million students in the first week. It's not going to work. Do things that don't scale. For example, in the early days, I was on the phone the whole time, trying to hustle, get people to list, get people to okay, check this property out. And from that process, you learn a lot how to build a product that can scale. In the early days, you don't have to spend money. Using online tools, WordPress, Wix, free drag and drop things, using Instagram to market, just like being on the streets, just hustling, walking. Like, use your energy and use your ingenuity, use your creativity to get things off the ground. But you don't, there's a fallacy that you have to use, a lot of startup capital. Start small. Start with 5 customers. 5 customers, that's a huge job. If you can get 5 people to like love your product, you can get 52, you can get 100 too, and then you can get 1,000 too. But it takes time. But just start now with something small and focus.